Hello, what is going on, guys? Hockey Guy 1 here. Welcome to my review of JoJo Rabbit. So, JoJo Rabbit is directed by Taika Waititi and stars Roman Griffin Davis, Thomasin McKenzie, Scarlett Johansson, Sam Rockwell, and Taika Waititi himself. So, the story is about JoJo. Is basically this little kid who is very loyal to the Nazis and is going through this whole youth training camp for young people live in Nazi Germany, and very loyal to live until like this one, he discovers that this one Jewish girl named Elsa is hiding inside of his house, and over time he kind of realizes that there's really nothing wrong with the Jews and that the Nazis are pretty evil. So the story was really good. As this movie is pretty much like a satire towards the whole World War II, I expected it to kind of be more than comedian, but honestly, I do feel like this movie does really focus on the story more. That's what really surprised me, is how much they really focused on the story. It's just a really well-written story, as it's pretty much just this whole kind of thing. There's not kind of movie. And then kind of feeling like distrusting the Nazis and just this whole Jewish film. And I do really like this whole story. It really works as it is, they take place in World War II. It's not really something that you see that often. It's just like, it isn't even based off of a real story. It's just a whole based on this original story that he made up, and I do think they do a very good job, kind of like you can feel like a bit of a different kind of history film, as it is kind of like a satirical comedy towards the World War II. It's just something else that really works, and I do feel like that just really works into the story as well, just all the satire to it, and all the jokes towards the Nazis. The structure of the story is very good. You got the first act, which pretty much just introducing it's JoJo and having this conversation with his imaginary friend Hitler, and his imaginary friend, and they talk about highly, and then there's just the whole thing, like the first day in the training camp, and the Nazis, and how he doesn't really want to kill a rabbit, and that's how like the whole movie JoJo Rabbit kind of like came up, and then like blows himself up and injures himself, so which I feel like is a good way to like kind of like start off the plot. It really works out well. Then the second act, it kind of like continues it, kind of having them not being able to be there, like so you're kind of injured, and it kind of just making fun of him about him, as well as just where it kind of introduces the whole Jewish girl Elsa thing in here, and it's just like the whole protecting her kind of thing, and I feel like that just is a really good way to like continue the story and really just fit into it well, and then it just kind of goes to him, like when she tries later in the thing that she like tries to like pretend that she's like his sister, and I feel like that really does move along the act well, and does make a lot of sense story-wise. And then the third act's pretty much where the Allies end up invading them, and Elsa's free in the end, and I feel like that does really work well, and it's a satisfying way to like end the movie, and is kind of free. And I do feel like each of these acts really do create one good story, and those end up working out well for this whole movie. Pacing is very good. This movie does feel like it goes by really fast. Each scene really does feel connected, kind of causing the film to feel like it goes by pretty quickly, which is what makes this movie really enjoyable. Each scene each scene does feel like it kind of serves a purpose to the story, so it does feel like this movie goes by pretty quickly, and makes the pacing really good. I feel like JoJo was a very well-written character. I mean, he ends up kind of ran as kind of not Nazi who ends up not really trusting him much. I feel like they do that very well. I mean, he kind of starts off as this Nazi and seems like he's very loyal. I mean, he even has Hitler as an imaginary friend because he's still loyal to them and doesn't really trust him. And just that over time, he does, I'm kind of realizing it as, and he does kind of like grow with this huge group else and just kind of like realize there's nothing wrong with the Jews and doesn't really agree with what the Nazis are doing with them. So it did a very good job developing him in that kind of case. That's why he can like pretty good character. I mean, even like just some lessons to learn from this is just very good. I mean, this whole character growth is just pretty much perfect, and they do a very good job developing him to the point where he doesn't really trust the Nazis, and then doesn't really even fight with him in the third act. I mean, he kind of just hides away during that whole battle, and they end up doing a very good job in that. Elsa was a pretty well-written character. I mean, she's pretty much just this Jew who's hiding inside JoJo's house, and I feel like that's pretty much most of her character. I mean, and they do a pretty good job with it. I mean, it's the whole time she kind of like steps on and pretends to be his sister, and actually almost worse. I mean, it actually is a pretty good scene. You can like see like how much closer he kind of like got to JoJo that she ended up bailing him out that way, and even bailing herself out. And I do think that whole scene there was a pretty well done thing to like show Elsa and also JoJo's relationship, and they end up doing like a really good job with it. JoJo's mother is a very good mother kind of figure. I mean, she's basically like this kind of character. She doesn't really want to get into politics because she is secretly against the Nazis, so she doesn't really like to get involved in politics, and tries like to show them about the real world. And I feel like those scenes are just very, very into the movie. And I do think that it does a very good job kind of like showing the relationship and really showing her kind of character and how she really care about politics and how she really thinks that Joe needs to hear more about the real world and like war. And there's Captain Klenzendorf, which is pretty much just the whole captain of this youth kind of training for the Nazis, and I do think that he has a pretty good character. I mean, as a villain, he definitely does very good. I mean, he makes fun of JoJo up, and just also just very villainous in his accent, and he kind of he doesn't really do the most, but I do feel like for what they have him in here, it does really work as kind of a villain, as he does kind of he go and does some intimidating things here and there, and you can like really see how he's against JoJo and just doesn't really like him that much, and make fun of him, which is what kind of like makes him a very villainous kind of character. The acting is very good. I mean, Roman Griffin Davis as a kid actor, he did do a pretty good job for a kid actor. I mean, he did kind of like feel like the character, and like he did the best can at trying to like deliver his lines, and you know, it seems like he at least wants to be there and is at least trying. Scarlett Johansson, I feel like, was probably the best in this movie. I mean, she did kind of like use a different kind of accent because she was playing a German character, and I think she did pull that out pretty well. I mean, overall, I feel like she did do a good job filling like the character and just using the German accent very well, as she doesn't really, and I do feel like she did do a very good job for that, and I definitely think that she felt like the character and delivered the lines with a lot of confidence, and that, of course, like I mentioned, the German accent is what stands out the most for her. And Thomas and Mackenzie, I do feel like did a pretty good job for a certain kid actor. I mean, she did kind of like feel like the character and doing her lines, and that's a pretty good job. And then there's Taika Waititi, and he played the director, and the actor in this movie. It's I think strange awesome people do that, and I do feel like he did a good job as like the imaginary Hitler kind of character, and as well as Sam Rockwell's Captain Glenn. He did feel like he delivered his lines very intensely, and then kind of like feel kind of villainous when he's doing it. And the cinematography is very good. I mean, each camera angle I feel like really works. I mean, there's a lot of camera angles where they kind of like use the wide and like show landscape scene, and I do feel like really worked out well. And just kind of like looking at most of the scenes, like I mean, during that whole battle with the aliens, kind of I feel like that cinematography in that scene really kind of like stood out for the movie. I mean, it does kind of like feel like they did a good job, like feeling it into the moment, and they'll be like capturing that whole moment out well. And that scene in particular is what stands out to me, and that even when they do close-ups, they do a good job like showing the characters' emotions. And the set designs are very good. I mean, it really does feel like 1940s Nazi Germany, and I do feel like they're like really into that, as the design doesn't do really feel like the amount of time. Each house done like a German element does really feel like it's in the 1940s, and just kind of like looking inside of JoJo's house as well. I mean, feels like a 1940s German house, and I do feel like they did a very good job kind of like making it feel like the time period. Overall, JoJo Rabbit is a masterpiece, and is another one of my favorites of last year. So I'm going to give JoJo Rabbit a 10 out of 10. That was my review of JoJo Rabbit. What are your thoughts on JoJo Rabbit? Tell me in the comments below. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.